The Danish foreign minister has said that fundamental disagreement remains after high-stakes talks in the White House over the future of Greenland. Lars Løkke Rasmussen told reporters that it was clear that the president wanted to conquer Greenland, adding his team hadn't managed to change the American position. Ahead of the meeting, Denmark said it had begun to increase its military presence in and around Greenland in close cooperation with NATO allies as part of their promise to beef up Arctic defences.
Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen, a former Prime Minister of the Kingdom, and his Greenlandic counterpart Vivian Motzfeldt arrived at the Executive Office building, the White House office block, amidst renewed American threats to Greenland. Afterwards, Mr. Rasmussen said the divisions remained the same.
On this basis, we had what I will describe as a frank but also constructive discussion. The discussions focused on how to ensure the long-term security in Greenland. And here our perspectives continue to differ, I must say. For us, ideas that would not respect territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark and the right of self-determination of the Greenlandic people are, of course, totally unacceptable. And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement.
But the Danes and Americans have agreed to more meetings to try and square off US security concerns and Danish sovereignty.
We have decided to form a high-level working group to explore if we can find a common way forward. The group, in our view, should focus on how to address the American security concerns, while at the same time respecting the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark.
But there wasn't much sign of mutual respect in President Trump's eve of meeting remarks, reacting to the Greenlandic Prime Minister saying his country wants to stay a part of Denmark.
The Premier of Greenland said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. Do you see that as the final word? Who said that? The Premier of Greenland.
Well, that's their problem. That's their problem. I disagree with him. I don't know who he is, don't know anything about him. But that's going to be a big problem for him.
But for now, the Danes and the rest of the EU are hoping that kicking the issue into the long grass of a high-level committee will take the temperature down.
Well, our Europe editor, Tony Connolly, is standing by, as is our Washington correspondent, Sean Whelan. Tony, to you first. Absolutely no softening of position on the US side, it would appear. And we also have this European response tonight. France, Germany and others embarking on this reconnaissance mission to the island. What's your interpretation of all that?
Well, I think from the Danish point of view, there is some relief that this was not a humiliation in the White House. Obviously, the presence of J.D. Vance, the Vice President, raised the stakes considerably. But I think there is a view that even though those fundamental differences remain, Denmark was able to get some clean tackles in, highlighting, for example, that there isn't a preponderance of Russian and Chinese ships sailing around Greenland. They're more likely to be found in the Bering Straits off Alaska. So this is seen as a somewhat positive development, the fact that things will go now to a working group. Lars Løkke Rasmussen also making the point that it's hard for Denmark to come up with innovative solutions to address America's security concerns if every morning the Danish government wakes up to the latest threat from Donald Trump on social media. The French and Germans have added their names to that delegation of NATO countries that are going to be sending small numbers of troops to Greenland. I think this is obviously symbolic, but it will perhaps give the administration pause. The idea that Danish and French and German and Swedish and Norwegian personnel will be there on Greenland, even if Donald Trump himself isn't particularly bothered about that. There will be a bipartisan delegation of US politicians going to Copenhagen this weekend, and there isn't much support on Capitol Hill or in the wider American public for any kind of assault on Greenland. But obviously the threat remains. Sharon.
Bring us the perspective from Washington then, Sean.
Well, we haven't heard anything back after that meeting. It took place with J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and the Danes were hoping to get a little more clarity on American thinking. But as we heard from Mr. Rasmussen, no budge from the Americans, no budge from the Danes. But they've set up this committee of experts to look at the issue, keep talking to each other. Remarkably, this has been the first meeting between Denmark, Greenland and the United States since President Trump started talking about invading or acquiring or taking over the island about a year ago now. So nothing much coming back from the American side at all. Perhaps not surprisingly, because there are so many other security issues going on in the world right now, a number of them much, much hotter than we are seeing in the situation in Greenland, which frankly, as Tony said, has perplexed many, many people here, including up on Capitol Hill, people who would have to vote for any kind of military action there, or even if they were to try and buy the place, the Congress would have to vote the funds, and with a huge budget deficit, people are wondering where they actually get the money from.
Looking at Iran very briefly, Sean, mixed signals tonight. We have this moving of essential personnel from their air bases in the Middle East from Qatar, but also Mr. Trump saying tonight that his understanding is that those protests, they're winding down and there won't be executions tomorrow. What are we to make of all this then?
Well, he's made those remarks in the past hour, saying that he's been informed by well-informed people in Iran that they're going to stop shooting protesters and that a planned execution for today isn't going to happen. That perhaps a signal that the Iranians are in the mood for talking to the Americans, want them to back off from military action, though more and more people are expecting something to happen. Former NATO commander in Europe, James Stavridis, said on television earlier he thinks something will happen in the next 2 to 3 days. Sharon?
Sean and Tony, thank you both.